Picture this. You are sitting at the gate, boarding pass ready, bag packed, mind completely at ease. Then an officer asks to see your phone. Not your passport, not your boarding pass, your phone. In 2026, this is happening more than most travelers realize, and it is not random. Border agents and TSA officers are trained to look at devices differently now, and what they find, or what they think they find, can change your entire trip. Most people believe they have nothing to hide, and that is exactly the problem. Because it is never about hiding something, it is about how something looks out of context. Today, we are breaking down 15 things sitting on your phone right now that could get you flagged, delayed, or pulled into a room you never wanted to see, and by the end, you will know exactly what to do before your next flight. Before we go further, if you are the kind of traveler who wants to stay ahead of these changes every single month, hit follow on FlySmart after 70 because we break down exactly what airports and agencies are not telling you. Number 1. TSA versus CBP. Who can actually search your phone? Most travelers assume TSA and border agents have the same power over your device, and that assumption alone gets people in trouble. TSA officers, the ones at the standard security checkpoint, do not have the legal authority to search the contents of your phone. Their job is screening for weapons and threats, not scrolling through your messages. CBP, the agents you meet at international arrival or departure, especially at the border, operate under a completely different set of rules because the border is treated as its own legal zone, and inside that zone, your phone can be searched without a warrant. That means the moment you land internationally, or the moment you are flagged for secondary screening, the protections you assume you have at home simply do not apply the same way. Agents can request access simply as part of routine screening, and refusing does not always mean you walk away clean, especially if you are not a citizen. For US citizens, you cannot be denied entry for refusing, but your phone can be detained, sometimes for days. For visitors and green card holders, the situation is far more fragile, and refusal can lead to delays, denied entry, or extended questioning. So before you fly, know the difference. TSA cares about what you are carrying. CBP can care about everything you are carrying inside your phone. Number 2, delete political messages and controversial chats before flying. This is the one most Americans never think about, because at home, your opinions are yours, and no one is checking your group chat before you board a plane domestically. International travel changes that completely. Officers reviewing a phone are not reading for context, they are scanning for red flags. And a heated political debate, a joke that reads badly out of context, or a message expressing strong views on a sensitive topic can shift how an officer perceives you in seconds. This is not about being right or wrong, it is about how fast an assumption forms when a stranger is reading fragments of a conversation with no background. The most common mistake is leaving old arguments sitting in your messages, threads from months ago that you forgot even existed, filled with sarcasm that made sense to you and your friend, but sounds completely different to someone screening for threats. Group chats are especially risky because tone gets lost, and a joke among friends can look like something else entirely to someone who does not know your sense of humor. Before an international trip, go through your most active conversations and remove anything that could be misread if a stranger scrolled through it with zero context. Number 3, why deleting everything the night before your flight is a huge mistake. This one surprises people because it seems responsible. You clean your phone the night before you fly, feeling prepared, feeling smart. Except officers are trained to notice patterns, and a phone that looks recently and heavily deleted can raise more suspicion than a phone that simply looks normal. When an officer sees empty folders, missing months of messages, or an unusually fresh reset right before international travel, the natural question becomes, what were you trying to hide? And once that question forms, you are no longer being screened casually. The safest approach is not a dramatic wipe the night before, it is an ongoing habit, cleaning your phone regularly throughout the month so nothing about your device looks rushed or reactive. A phone with a normal, lived in history, some old photos, some regular messages, some apps you clearly use daily reads as authentic, while a phone that looks scrubbed clean reads as prepared for inspection. And that is the opposite of what you want. If your phone suddenly looks empty the day before a flight, that gap itself becomes the story an officer builds around you. Clean early, clean often, and never let your last minute cleanup become the reason someone looks twice. Number 4. Remove sensitive photos that could be misunderstood. Photos are the fastest way to create a wrong impression, because unlike text, there is no explaining a photo in the moment. An officer either sees it or does not, and there is no room for your side of the story mid-screening. This does not mean anything illegal. It means ordinary photos taken out of their original context. A photo from an event you happen to attend as a bystander, a screenshot saved for a joke, an image that made sense in the moment it was taken, but tells a completely different story sitting alone in your camera roll. The most overlooked risk is screenshots, because people forget how many screenshots pile up over months, memes, forwarded images, things saved without a second thought, and any one of them can look different when viewed by someone who does not know why it is there. Before flying internationally, take 10 minutes to scroll through your recent photos and screenshots specifically, and ask yourself honestly whether any single image, seen without explanation, could raise a question you do not want to answer at a checkpoint. If the answer is even maybe, move it off your phone before you travel. Number 5. The hidden data on your phone border agents can still recover. Here is the part most travelers do not expect. Deleting something does not always mean it is gone. Many phones keep traces of deleted messages, photos, and app data in caches, backups, and temporary storage long after you think you removed them, and forensic tools used at some borders can recover far more than a casual delete accounts for. This means the person who deleted a message last week might still have it sitting somewhere on the device, recoverable by the right software. And assuming a simple delete is full protection is one of the most common mistakes travelers make. Cloud backups make this even more complicated, because even if your phone looks clean, a connected account can still be pulling data from a backup created days or weeks earlier, meaning the version an officer could theoretically access is not even the one currently on your screen. Real cleanup means more than deleting an app or a photo. It means checking what is actually backed up, what syncs automatically, and what still exists in a cache somewhere. Review your backup settings weeks before you travel, not the night before. Number 6. Delete suspicious group chats, contact names, and inside jokes. Every friend group has one. A contact saved under a nickname that made sense at the time, a group chat named after an inside joke that sounds completely different to someone reading it cold. Officers scanning a phone are not laughing along with your friend group. They are reading names and labels literally, and a contact saved with a joking nickname referencing something risky sounding, even if it means nothing, can pull attention toward it simply because of how it reads on its own. This is one of the easiest fixes and one of the most ignored because changing a contact name feels unnecessary until the moment it is the exact thing someone questions you about. Group chat names carry the same risk. A chat named as a joke months ago, filled with sarcasm that made sense in the moment, can look completely different sitting on a screen being read by a stranger with zero context and limited time. Before international travel, take a few minutes to scroll your contacts and your group chat names specifically, and rename anything that would need an explanation if read literally by someone who does not know you. It costs nothing to rename a chat, and it removes one more thing that could turn a routine phone check into a longer conversation than it needed to be. Number 7. The smartest travel phone setup frequent flyers use. People who travel often, the ones who fly monthly for work or pleasure, tend to set their phone up completely differently before international trips, and it is not paranoia, it is preparation. The most common setup among frequent flyers is keeping a clean, minimal home screen with only the apps needed for the actual trip visible and active, boarding passes, maps, translation tools, and nothing that invites unnecessary questions. Many frequent travelers also disable automatic photo backups a few days before flying, so their camera roll only reflects what they intentionally kept, rather than months of accumulated screenshots and forwarded images they never meant to keep. Another habit worth copying is logging out of apps that are not essential for the trip, banking apps, certain social platforms, anything that would prompt a login request during a screening rather than sitting logged in and ready to scroll. This is not about hiding anything. It is about presenting a phone that clearly matches the purpose of your trip: travel documents, communication with family, maps. Nothing more, nothing that requires explanation. Frequent flyers treat their phone the same way they treat their carry-on, packed with only what serves the trip, and everything else left behind, or backed up somewhere else entirely. Number 8. Remove dating apps and high-risk apps before international travel. This one surprises a lot of travelers, because dating apps feel completely personal and unrelated to travel screening, yet in certain countries, the content and conversations inside these apps can create problems that have nothing to do with your actual reason for visiting. Some countries have strict laws around relationships, certain content, or behavior that is completely normal at home, but treated very differently elsewhere. And an app sitting on your phone, logged in and active, can become the center of a conversation you never expected to have. The same applies to certain high-risk apps, ones tied to specific communities, certain lifestyle content, or anything that could be interpreted very differently depending on the country you are entering. It is not about judgment. It is about the simple fact that laws and cultural expectations vary enormously, and what feels harmless in one place can create real complications in another. Before an international trip, especially to a country with stricter social laws, review which apps are installed and logged in, and consider logging out or temporarily removing anything not essential to the actual purpose of your visit. A few minutes of cleanup here can prevent a conversation you did not plan for and did not want to have standing in a screening line. Number 9. What to say if an officer asks you to unlock your device. This moment catches people off guard because it feels sudden and most travelers have never rehearsed what to actually say. The most important thing to know is that staying calm and polite matters far more than being clever or defensive, because tone shapes how the rest of the interaction goes. If asked to unlock your device, you are allowed to ask clarifying questions, such as whether this is a request or a requirement, and whether you are free to decline. Because for US citizens, refusal cannot be used to deny entry, though it can lead to your device being held temporarily. If you are not a citizen, the situation is different, and refusal carries more weight, so understanding your specific status before you travel matters more than any clever answer in the moment. A simple, respectful response works best, something like stating that you understand the request and asking what the specific concern is, rather than reacting defensively or refusing outright without context. Avoid arguing, avoid raising your voice, and avoid trying to negotiate, because officers are trained to notice behavior just as much as content, and calm cooperation combined with clear boundaries tends to move you through faster than resistance ever does. The goal is not winning the moment, the goal is leaving the screening room as quickly and smoothly as possible. Number 10, delete cryptocurrency wallet apps you do not need for the trip. Crypto wallets are one of the newer additions to this list, and most travelers have never even considered them a travel risk. Yet, financial apps tied to significant value sitting on your phone can draw specific attention during certain screenings, especially at borders with stricter financial monitoring. The concern is not that crypto itself is illegal. It is that unexplained access to significant funds, combined with an app an officer may not fully understand, can turn a routine check into a longer financial questioning process. If you do not need access to a specific wallet during your trip, the safest move is removing the app entirely rather than simply logging out, because a logged out app still signals its presence and its purpose. For travelers who do need access while abroad, keeping balances visible only through a secondary, less prominent method, and avoiding large visible transaction histories on the main screen reduces the chance of the app becoming a focal point. This is simply about minimizing anything on your phone that requires a longer explanation than a screening officer has time for, and a crypto wallet, however legitimate, often requires exactly that kind of explanation. Remove what you do not need for the trip itself and keep only what serves your actual travel purpose. Number 11. Why smart travelers carry a separate travel phone. This is the habit that separates casual travelers from people who fly constantly and never seem to run into trouble. They simply do not travel with their main phone at all. A dedicated travel phone, often an older device wiped clean and set up with only essential apps, removes almost every risk we have covered so far in one single decision, because there is nothing personal, nothing accumulated, and nothing that requires context sitting on the device. This is not about hiding anything. It is about efficiency, because a minimal phone means a faster screening every single time, with nothing for an officer to scroll through beyond travel documents and basic communication. Setting one up is simpler than most people expect. An old phone, a fresh number, or a temporary line, your essential travel apps only, and nothing synced from your main accounts unless absolutely necessary for the trip. For frequent international travelers, especially those visiting countries with stricter screening practices, this single habit saves more time and stress than almost anything else on this list combined. You do not need to give up your main phone for daily life. You simply stop bringing it into situations where its entire history becomes something a stranger might scroll through in a screening room. Number 12. Remove social media posts that could trigger extra screening. Most people think of social media as something completely separate from travel screening. Yet public posts, especially ones tied to your real name and visible location tags, are increasingly part of what gets reviewed during heightened screening situations. A post from months ago, a location check-in from a sensitive area, a comment on a controversial event, none of these were written with a border crossing in mind, yet all of them remain visible and searchable, and officers reviewing a profile are reading them completely out of the context in which they were originally written. The safest approach before international travel is a quick privacy audit, checking what is publicly visible on your profiles versus what is limited to friends, and temporarily tightening privacy settings for the duration of your trip if your account is normally public. This is especially important for anyone posting frequently about current events, politics, or personal opinions, because a public profile means anyone reviewing it sees the same thing a friend would without any of the relationship or trust that makes those posts make sense. A few minutes adjusting your privacy settings before you fly can prevent months of old posts from becoming the unexpected center of attention during a screening you expected to be routine. Number 13. Factory reset versus selective cleanup. Which is actually safer? This is a debate frequent travelers have constantly, and the honest answer depends entirely on your situation because both options carry real trade-offs. A full factory reset gives you the cleanest possible phone. Nothing to find because nothing remains. Yet, as we covered earlier, a phone that looks freshly wiped right before international travel can itself raise questions, especially if it looks unusually bare compared to a normal daily use device. Selective cleanup, removing specific apps, messages, and photos while keeping your phone looking naturally used, tends to be the safer middle ground for most travelers, because it removes the specific risks without creating the suspicious appearance of a phone with no history at all. The exception is travelers heading into countries known for extremely strict device searches, where a dedicated travel phone or a genuine reset days or weeks before departure, giving the device time to accumulate some natural-looking use again, makes more sense than a rushed cleanup the night before. The mistake most people make is treating this as an either-or decision, made the night before a flight, when really it should be a decision made weeks in advance, giving your phone time to look naturally maintained rather than obviously prepared for inspection. Number 14. Delete unnecessary cloud links and auto-sync accounts before you fly. This is the part most travelers completely overlook, because cleaning your actual phone means nothing if everything you deleted is still sitting in a connected cloud account, syncing quietly in the background. Photos, messages, and documents backed up automatically to cloud storage remain accessible even after you delete them locally. And if an officer requests access to connected accounts, cloud storage becomes an extension of your phone rather than something separate from it. Before international travel, review which accounts are actively syncing, photo backups, message backups, document storage, and consider pausing automatic sync temporarily for the duration of your trip so your phone and its connected accounts actually match what you intended to bring. This also applies to auto login features, where apps stay signed in permanently, because a signed-in account is instantly accessible during a screening, while a signed-out account requires active effort and a separate decision to access. Pausing sync is not about permanently disconnecting your accounts. It is a temporary step before travel, easily reversed once you land safely, and it closes one of the biggest gaps between what you think you cleaned and what is actually still connected and retrievable. Number 15, the 30-day phone cleanup checklist. Every international traveler should follow. Bringing everything together, the safest approach is never a rushed cleanup the night before a flight. It is a rolling habit built over the month leading up to your trip. In the first week, start reviewing your photos and screenshots gradually, removing anything outdated or unnecessary in small batches rather than all at once. In the second week, review your contacts, group chats, and messages, renaming anything that could be misread and archiving old conversations you no longer need active on your device. In the third week, audit your apps, removing anything you will not use during the trip, logging out of accounts that are not essential, and reviewing which apps sync automatically in the background. In the final week before departure, review your cloud accounts and backup settings specifically, pausing unnecessary syncing, and doing a final light check of your recent activity to make sure nothing new has slipped in since you started. This gradual approach means your phone never looks suddenly wiped. It simply looks naturally maintained, which is exactly the impression you want walking into any screening, domestic or international, and it removes the last-minute stress of trying to fix a month of digital clutter in a single night before your flight. 15 things, and none of them about breaking any law, all of them about avoiding a slow, uncomfortable conversation you never planned for. Political messages gone. Sensitive photos cleared. Hidden backups checked. Suspicious names renamed. Dating apps and crypto wallets removed if not needed. A separate travel phone considered. Social posts reviewed. And a full month of steady cleanup, not a rushed night before panic. Preparation is what separates a smooth screening from a delayed one, and your phone is now part of that preparation just as much as your passport and your boarding pass. If you found this useful, follow FlySmart after 70 for more of what airports and border agencies never explain clearly. Because the next trip you take should be about the destination, not about explaining your phone to a stranger.